Good evening. Moving through our agenda, next comes to the public comment. Public participation is encouraged in the Laurel School District. All meetings of the board will be open to the public except provided by law. Scheduled meetings of the board may be recorded. Audience members may address the board during public comment for non-agenda interests or during the discussion of the relevant printed agenda item. Your attendance is welcomed. If you plan to speak to the board, please look over the information on the agenda, then complete the public comment card located in the back of the room. Also, if you would please make sure that you do sign in if you haven't done so before you leave for tonight. To address the school board members, please stand to be recognized. Come to the podium, identify yourself, and briefly state your concern. Public participation is a right that carries certain responsibilities, such as informing oneself in advance of the issues being discussed, voluntarily being as brief and germane as possible, not unduly repeating remarks others or you have already made, and showing respect at all times for the rights and opinions of others, whether citizens, board members, school district employees, or students. Thank you for your involvement in Laurel Public School. Is there any public comment for non-agenda interests? Spit that up. All right, I'm not seeing any, so we will move through our agenda onto the correspondence. As always, our gracious community has stepped to the plate and has given various of different ways to our school, between the back to school drive, our backpack program, our school meal programs, even a sponsor for our new educators did a luncheon for the staff. So with all of that, we do appreciate those donors in our community, as it is nice to see. And of course, we always welcome that. So thank you. Ace Hardware, CHS, Community Hope, Woods Power Grip, Holistic Relief, United Way, Albertsons, Altana, Walmart, Eagles, Your Pie, SEG Federal Credit Union, and Yellowstone Bank. Again, thank you very much for those donations through all of those community. Renee, did I miss one?
No, I just.
Like what or how much?
I just want to make sure that when we send those out, that they are. I would prefer it to be up in the top. The evidence, so that it's easy to see it. Top, you can read it at the bottom.
We can try to standardize those letters.
Some of them.
I guess, like, who's donating yours? I know we get letters. It's just nice at the end of the year. What to read.
We can look into that and standardizing that letter and collecting that information. Figure something out, Julie, on how that. Thank you, Renee, for bringing that up. Okay, moving through our agenda, I have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve by Renee,
I'll second.
seconded by Jenny. Comments, questions from the board? Not seeing any comments, questions from public audience? Not hearing or seeing any from there. On the consent agenda, I do have an approval by Renee, seconded by Jenny. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving down through our, if I get my fingers to work here, sure help. Tongue and my fingers not working. down through our action items. I have action item A, spring of 2025 levies, building reserve and operational. We can certainly make a discussion on this first. Just, I know we had discussed a couple times in various different meetings that we wanted to potentially look at something coming down the pipeline. Would this be for an operational? Would this just be for a building reserve or none? Just kind of wanted to bring it back up because I think now with school in session and attendance in certain athletics, attendance in starting to be with our other clubs, we need to discuss with the community. But thought we'd bring it back up to the board. Chris?
So we don't have amounts or anything yet, right? So this would just be more like we're putting the vibe out there. We would potentially do this, but we don't have a lot of hard,
Well, we have for action item B, oh my gosh, I'm struggling. We could potentially talk about those levy amounts as well.
was
Julie?
there, because that's why I was wondering if there was a recommended one in there from the.
No, we just discussed, because we had talked about it last
All
time.
right.
Julie?
On the resolution, this is a resolution just for the elementary and the high school. For trustee and levy resolution, it's a standard resolution that you pass. It has to be passed 70 days before the election. So it's a little soon. You can wait to pass it, but you don't have to put any amounts on this particular resolution. It's only when you later on down the road, closer to the election, then have your amounts for the ballot language. But this resolution is just a basic resolution that saying that you do want to do levies, and yes, you will have a trustees election.
Would be nice at some point to make sure well ahead of a couple of months before the election to set those, because that's impacting people's taxes. And that's part of the information we get out and have conversations about is, well, that's great. And we really see what you spend all that money on. That's wonderful. We see that you might need it. But what's it going to cost me? So it's nice to have that information at hand as part of it down, sooner rather than later.
Well, that was my question too, is just if we're going to do it, I like the idea of doing this early, just like we did with the high school, with the school bonds, the same thing. We had amounts sort of ballparked in there too in the fall when we were out in the community. So if we were going to pass this tonight, I think the next discussion item, we should try to drill down on that a little more. So we have numbers so we can talk about impact better.
So I do have numbers. I just ran some numbers off what you guys wanted to do last year for the election. And I did for 200,000 for the elementary and 400,000 for the high school. And so I do have, like, if you had it, and it's only on the taxable value this year. So it changes every year, so it'll be different next year, but I just went on what we got right now. So like if you went 200,000 on the elementary, $100,000 house, you're looking at $4.40
A year.
And if you're looking 400,000 on the high school, on 100,000, you're looking at $8.95 a year. And one of the things I did right, you have to remember, we do have 2 bonds that are falling off this year. We've got an elementary bond, 2013 elementary, and a 2013 high school bond. The elementary bond that's going off, it's kind of blended in, I believe, with our current
The
bond.
current bond.
So I'm not sure how the blend works, but for sure the high school bond that's going off, the payment as of this year, the last payment is $252,300 less than what you guys had voted on tried to get last year for a levy, but that's kind of brings you up to where
Then the operational side of that, we really can't give a number for the operational levy. It probably till,
To March.
yeah, March. So if we were to be agreeing to anything in the near future as a board, you guys would be agreeing to a building reserve levy. The operational levy numbers, we just wouldn't be able to set those until later. We could be talking about it, but we couldn't set the numbers.
Donnie?
I guess I just have a little bit of concern with doing it so early in the process. If we're calling for a trustee election, they can't even start signing up until December. I don't know if it's gonna, what kind of an impact it's gonna have. But the thing that makes me the most nervous is the fact that once you pass the resolution calling for the election, you outline the things that you're going to do. If you didn't include it in that resolution, you can't add it. And there's a lot can happen between now and February, I guess, when we would, at the latest, that we could do this type of work. But it just makes me a little bit nervous putting the wheels in motion this far in advance.
Chris?
I do think that's fair, Donnie, too, and I don't, and I guess I didn't realize you couldn't, and that was gonna be one of my questions, is can we modify it? Because if we wanted maybe instead of a levy to run a bond, or you know what I mean, that would eliminate that option then, is that right? If we did it now. That doesn't preclude us from talking about the school needs at an event. We don't need this formal resolution in order for us to promulgate that, right? So we could still set up a table at a high school basketball game and still talk about district needs, right?
So when we did the bond, we didn't do this resolution until February, like typical. We still were able to talk about the bond and get the word out into the community. So I agree, like I'd like starting the discussions now with the board and with the community at basketball games or whatever, but I don't know if we need to do the resolution for an election yet. You think?
I guess, Donnie, what you say that you're nervous that things would change, what would change? What are you envisioning that would change so
Never
drastic?
know what can happen out there, but I guess one of the things that potentially comes up in a spring election is a technology levy. Maybe something happens that we decide this perpetual levy that we've got going now is not enough and we need to try for a technology levy at a larger amount for a set period of time, the way the new law reads, and wouldn't even be an option at this point if we've already passed our resolution and didn't include a potential technology levy. But I don't want to put every possibility into that resolution either, because then people read that and they're like, whoa, here we go again.
Oh, just so I'm clear, so once we make this resolution, we can't add any other levy to it, even if it's 70 days out. Julie?
Great question, Ray.
Because aren't they separate resolutions? It would be an elementary resolution, a high school resolution. If we were going to do a technology resolution, wouldn't they be separate? And as long as they're 70 days out, or do we have to do both resolutions at the same time? I mean, I guess that's my question, is what are the rules on the time? And if we pass a resolution and this board decides that for whatever reason we want to, I don't know what that would be called, that resolution, do we have that ability as long as we're more than 70 days out? So those might be questions we need to ask the county superintendent or the attorneys, whatever that is, to make sure that we're clear on what that looks like. I feel like we're pretty I think we have a pretty good idea of the needs at both the high school and the elementary, especially after running it last year. I think we can communicate it better, and I think that's where this came from, is our ability to get out to the public and really get some momentum behind what our needs are and show them what our needs are. And so I think that's where this came from. If we can do it in a different way, I guess my understanding was we really shouldn't be doing that if we didn't pass a resolution that we were going to make the ask in May. So I just want to be clear that we're doing this in the right order. If we're going to do it this early, so maybe we need to ask those questions and bring it back to the next meeting. But I do think that we can do some good work either way with some community meetings, and maybe even start like we had our building committee have a community levy. I don't know what it'd be called. That's the same people meeting that's looking at I know we did this like, I don't know how many years ago. Donnie was probably where it was a group of people that sat down a few times, and we looked at the needs of every school and like what are the real priorities and how much is it really going to cost, and that way people really got a feeling and could speak to the fact that high school needs this and this because I saw the pictures and I know what they really need. And it was an ongoing discussion. And then like the building committee, those people could go out and share that story in the community. So I think the timeline I think is good. I just want to make sure that we're doing it in the right order with the right steps. And that if we need to make changes, is that possible or not? So we'd probably need to ask those questions.
And this early, so it's a good question.
Well, I do have it as an action item. I mean,
Table it to a future meeting for discussion.
motion by Chris to table for a future discussion after investigating those questions.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jenny. Any other comments, questions on that from the board? Comments, questions from public audience? Not seeing any from anybody? Alrighty. So motion to table action item A for the 2025 levies. Motion by Chris, seconded by Jenny. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I would jump to the conclusion of the same motion, but do we want to have discussion first? So I don't assume, never assume.
I would, along this, and I know Wayne already has a good start on this, but to sit down and to May's point, to make a real comprehensive list of deferred maintenance, not just projects we want to do, but also just deferred maintenance things, from the weeds growing out of the heating system and part of the building to just, I mean, all the things that we've put off the last so many years that need doing, that we're just surviving with because it's okay. But we would like to see changes. So that might be a good idea. We start putting together a more comprehensive deferred maintenance list at the high school. Well, in elementary too. Elementary changes quite a bit in the next year.
Do you want that to be an action item, or do you want it to be in a committee, or?
Well, I think the creation of the list would be something that Wayne and I and the principals worked on to start with. Then we take that to that committee and start talking, having those conversations. But that's, you know, as we walk down the hall, yeah, that door's fine, but you know, that glass has been cracked for 10 years. So those are just things we have deferred and we just haven't ever fixed. We need to look at those because we have a lot of little things that aren't on any lists that we need to create.
For future discussion item, building community committee and needs of schools. We kind of put that just to keep that flowing, just for everybody to know. I did put that on my future.
I just want to, is the board feel, I feel like I'm like a broken record with the bond thing, but like, I wonder, do we want to have that committee evaluate both options at the high school level? Talk about, is that a direction we want to give that community committee? Look at the building needs and determine what actions, is it more appropriately handled in a bond or in a levy over many years? So maybe that's a direction for that committee to decide, or give that, not decide, but give that recommendation to the board at that time. Is that something that we're open to, or am I the only person thinking that?
I don't know. I guess I would defer that kind of recommendation to what Matt and Wayne think, because they probably have a better, I mean, that committee doesn't really understand what a bond gives as opposed to a levy. I don't know. I guess I would more defer to Matt and Wayne's opinion. Like, is it, to start with, is it an immediate need that a bond needs to be passed to, or are these things like the broken window that we have money over 3 years to fix all those little things? I don't know. I don't know if that's might be too big of an ask of that committee to kind of make that recommendation. I don't know. Matt, what do you think?
I think when we get into talking about bonds, we're talking about programs, we're talking about expanding CTE, we're talking about fixing and doing some major things. Whereas a deferred maintenance list, we're going through and, okay, well, we got, you go outside and there's, peeling paint. There's just things like that over the years, let's say $400,000 a year over 5 years turns out to be a couple $1 million. We could do a lot of deferred maintenance with that type of money, where we can it would help if you see the list of things we have done the last couple of years with that building reserve. I mean, it's hinges on doors. It's just a lot of just small projects, medium-sized projects, and some gym-sized projects that we're working on now. So there's just a lot of, I'd be interested to see that total amount of just deferred maintenance list.
There's a lot of things like doors that are falling off the hinges that need to be replaced. That's something that could be included in not in a bond. There's a lot of items throughout there. The sanitary sewer systems throughout the high school are starting to fail. And those are big things. Is that something that we can have right away? Hopefully we're working on those. We can put together a list. We've already have a list that we have started that we have utilized for some time that we will expand upon. And I can provide a list of everything that we've done over the last 5 years. And you'll be surprised at the amount of things that we have managed to keep the place up and going. And those are the type of things that we would need to do sooner than later.
Pops, I'm just coming back to you.
I just think right now we should focus on this levy, this 5-year levy that can give us the bandwidth to do those little repairs. And once I'm kind of really excited for our current projects to be completed, and then we can really show them off to the community, get the students in there, and then we can start focusing on the next big high school project. But I think we should really focus in. The bond is a great thing and it's a great future thing, but if we can focus all our energy and just decide we're doing levy now, focus up, like put our energies here so that we can fix stuff, because right now we got nothing, so and then once we're finished buildings, our current bond, we can move on to the high school.
My only worry about that is ask is what we sound like a little bit. if we pass the levy, do we get a bond done in 5 years, and do we lose the momentum and goodwill from the good work that's being done in this elementary district now? That's my biggest concern about it, is the bond is strategically more long-term, and you could cover everything that would cover in a levy, a building reserve levy, inside a bond. You could put deferred maintenance items in the bond, where, and we would be riding this goodwill wave and ask for one thing and get the school very right, and then ask for a levy down the road. If we ask for the levy, this is just what I worry, is they're gonna be like, well, we just gave you this levy to work on the high school. Now, what are you coming back for? What now? I thought we fixed the high school. That's what I worry the perception will be. And then we're talking 5 years before the high school could be looked at again potentially. And then the new elementary schools will be old news by then, and we'll have lost sort of that crowd. We were so close last time that I'm just worried that we might lose the crowd if we wait too long. That's my only worry, and that's why I keep bringing it up.
In addition to the 2013 bond that goes off this year on the high school, there's also a 2019 series bond, and it goes off in 26, 27. So that's not too many years off that it's going off. So you'll have 2 bonds that go off within the next 5 years of the high school.
Well, it gives much to think about, that is for sure. I'm glad that we brought it up. Donnie?
There's nothing to say that we couldn't run a 3-year building reserve just to bridge that gap. We can't go over 20, but we can go anywhere less than that. So another option.
Have options. Options are good. Anybody else on that? I do like the points on both sides of the aisle, just because we do have a direct need now, potentially worrying about, the next coming up years. But Chris makes some good points, because the bond would put our CTE programs, our programs back in, does start talking about what our 5 to 10-year goal is back to our district. So good discussion. Good discussion. My wheels are spinning. Alrighty. However, for tonight, though, I do have yet another action item in B of the spring 2025 levy amounts.
I make a motion to table spring 2025 levy amounts to a future meeting.
Second.
I have a motion on the table. Is there any other discussion, comments by the board? Discussion, comments by public audience? Alrighty, not hearing or seeing any. Action item B for the spring 2025 levy amounts, motion to table for future discussion. Renee, seconded by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Action item C, the resolution regarding property abandonment, obsolete, undesirable, and unsuitable for school purposes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution regarding the property that's been abandoned, obsolete, or undesirable, or unsuitable for school purposes in both District 7 and 7-70, and instruct the district to do that in any means which they deem necessary or appropriate.
Motion to approve by Chris,
Second.
seconded by Jenny. Any comments, questions from the board? Julie?
And I just have one thing to say, just for transparency reasons. This is a very long, and in order to get it into paper, it would be real difficult. So it is going in the paper. All the top items are going in, but then it basically says that there's several textbooks, workbooks, library books. Also, please look on the website, and then the website. So that's what's going to be in the paper. It'll have the top items, and then when you get to the books, I didn't list them all. It's too long.
but if I understand you, they will be able to go to the website and
And
see the
look.
entire list.
Yes.
Right.
Any other comments, questions from the board? Comments, questions from public audience? Not hearing or seeing any. I have a motion to approve by Chris, seconded by Jenny. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Going into our informational items. As always, I do appreciate all of the department heads, admin for their reports, financial reports. So if I go through and you need to comment, let me know. If you want to kind of make mention that something was awesome going on in the last 4 days of school, please let us know. If not, I will keep moving forward. Informational items, school election calendar 2025. Going down to department reports. Activities. Donnie.
I'm timed that perfectly. I just want to say I'm super excited to see that you're moving forward with using Dragonfly Pay for the officials. I think that's going to be a great time saver to the secretary at the high school that pays all those and voids all those, and kudos. Thank you.
Anything else on activities? All righty. Curriculum director. She's been busy. Very busy. Facilities. Also a man who's had nothing to do. Food services. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if there's someone here that can answer the question for certain, but we're doing free meals for all students K through 4. Yay, that's exciting too. Thank you.
Based off of, want to describe it was from the grant, because I know there's been some questions.
Federal program.
Okay. Technology, trustees, we do have a copy of that. But of course, Devin's copy for his report is in your hands.
It's old school. He likes paper.
Yeah, big tech guy, likes it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
He's right in the perfect position, right? Thank you, Devin. Transportation. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to give a shout out to Zeta too, that it is just incredible how she keeps it all together with not only the routes for students to school every day, but all those extracurricular activities. And it just, I look at that list every time and just think, it exhausts me.
It's
Good job.
overwhelming. And I should have read your report and I haven't, but did we get our bus?
I think she just kind of threw it.
I'm sorry.
She could have nodded, but did we get our new route bus yet?
No, it's supposed to be here by the end of the month,
No, this month.
this month. The one thing I did want to add to it, we had some amazing, on Friday, we were all out on route on time in the afternoon. So thank you guys for having the kiddos loading quickly and stuff, and same thing today. So that's really a huge thing.
I think we do have the right people on the bus.
Most of the time.
Like, I'm saying you. I'm not saying the kids. I'm saying you as our departments and reports. Thank you. We do have the right people on the bus. So thank you guys for all of that. Financial reports, Miss Julie, thank you. I'm going to go through them. Cash report. Revenue report. Expenditure report. High school activities for July and high school activities for August. Middle school activities for July. Going down to our principals report. South. West. Graph. Middle. And high school. Looks like we started off the week with a bunch of yays and greats and smiles and ton of good positives. So congratulations on that. Way to kick us off on another year. Superintendent's report. Resignation report. Job vacancies. Laurel School District safe return to schools and continuity of services and plan. Okay, nothing else. Moving into our MTSBA liaison report. Thank you, Donnie, for that as well. And then last on it is donated books for review.
These books given to me, and they came in, I guess, this summer, some donations that they wanted to put on the shelf. So these are the 3 books. They are in our possession, but they were donated. So they won't be put on the shelf or put into the circulation until they would go through this approval process and then be approved as an action item at the next board meeting.
So could we just have added maybe to that, like what library they're going to?
That is my fault. I believe these are high school. I believe they are.
Okay,
I got them from Mrs. Coop.
okay.
So just to add for any books, if it's donated or purchased, you want to know what building it's.
And I'll do that. Yeah, 100%. I just cut and pasted it, and I should have looked on there. Didn't have library.
Want to make
That's high
sure. Okay, looking back on that list, I'm not seeing any hands that we need of anything. Alrighty. Moving into future discussion, I did put again, based off of our earlier discussion and comments for the resolutions, building community committee, needs of schools, creation of lists, possible lists that we already currently have, Wayne. Maybe kind of just back and forth on what is best between possible levy or bond in this current situation that we're in, which I still think is great. Things are happening at Laurel Public Schools, but we're just trying to move forward through everything. Anything else that I have missed, I have not brought up, you think I have dropped the ball on, please let me know. I did come in here with my hair on fire, so it could happen.
Well, I think one thing we had talked about before, and we kind of discussed this, but is looking into the 4-day schedule as we look at calendars for the next. I think that was already on our list or at some point, but just so that everybody knows that's still on the list. But there has to be some background on that.
When does the calendar committee start?
If I remember right, our first meeting is usually in October. That's
Kind
right.
of
I'd have to ask Wendy, but I think it's October. Yeah, Charlotte said yeah.
October. Just so the calendar committee can bring that back up for discussion, points of clarification on is it good, is it educational, is it not, what are the benefits, what aren't the benefits, all that. Okay. Anything else? Yep, that's for next, we put that on the next meeting.
Can't remember if it was the first meeting in October or the.
September. Charla, I'm sorry. It's okay. I was just looking at you. CTE, when you guys asked us what you wanted of us, I said the second meeting in September, correct? Okay. So second meeting in September. Is that good for you then too? I'm assuming that's what you get. Okay. Anybody else? Alrighty. If not, oh my gosh, it's crazy. I adjourn the meeting.